Jennifer Igwe. It's an honor to have you join us for another edition of Newsline. Gather your family because this is the right place to be for stories that capture different aspects of life and society. Now, do you know your neighbors? Do you interact with them? I'm sure you're asking and wondering, what kind of question is that? And rhetorically responding, must I know them? Are you aware that avoiding your neighbor, your next door neighbor, could put your life in danger? I can hear you say, how? Stay on the line. Then the Mount of Beatitudes, Mount Tabor, and neighbor, including the city of Galilee and all the other wonderful places and stories captured in the Bible, come to life for Christians and visitors to Jordan and Israel. In what unique way? Walking the Trail, a reporter's diary by our correspondent, has it all. We have other mind-boggling stories that will make you wonder, can people be this cruel? And we have also on our lineup celebrations, including the coronation of a traditional ruler in Dutse, Jigawa State. But first, the news segment as usual, and my colleague Claire Adelabu Abdurazak is waiting for my cue. So Claire, over to you.
I did get the cue, Jennifer. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to our Abuja studios and the news. The state of Qatar has announced a $60 million contribution in demonstration of its firm commitment to supporting the development process of least developed countries. The Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani made this known in Doha at the opening of the 5th UN Conference on Least Developed Countries. President Muhammadu Buhari is leading Nigeria's delegation to the conference on the invitation of the Qatari monarch. Here is our State House correspondent, Adamu Sambu, with the report.
Records from the United Nations show that more than 1.1 billion people reside in the 46 most vulnerable or least developed countries of the world. This conference, being attended by world leaders, including President Muhammadu Buhari and other critical stakeholders, is put together to share ideas and mobilize political will, solidarity, and action towards supporting the people in breaking out of vicious cycles and lifting themselves out of poverty. The newly elected president of the 5th United Nations Conference on the Least Developed Countries and Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, harped on the need for effective implementation of the Doha Program of Action, which is the development roadmap for the least developed countries. Consequently, out of the $60 million Qatari government contribution for least developed countries, $10 million is allocated for the intended outcomes of the Doha Program of Action, while the balance of $50 million is set aside for building their resilience potentials.
I urge development partners to follow the example of Qatar and take the initiative to support the implementation of the Doha Program of Action as part of our humanitarian and developmental duty towards the peoples of least developed countries.
Least developed countries need a revolution of support from the richest countries that receive the most to those who need help the most.
We have the UN Sustainable Development Goals as a reminder of the better days that lie ahead of us. So let us not give up.
President Muhammadu Buhari is scheduled to address the conference on Monday.
And so his presence here, I think, is an opportunity for Nigeria to increase not just its visibility, but its partnerships, that we're all as strong as our weakest link. And so if we put in place global mechanisms to strengthen and support least developed countries, everybody gains.
Nigeria has joined this meeting principally to give support to least developing countries, many of whom are African countries. In addition, Nigeria also, as a provider of support for decades to African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, needs to be here to listen and to also work with the United Nations going forward in solving the problems of the least developing countries, especially with this problem of food insecurity, alongside problems concerning the world economy.
The conference, held every 10 years, has as its theme, From Potential to Prosperity. From Doha, the state of Qatar, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And straight from Doha, correspondent Adamu Sambu reports that President Muhammadu Buhari has called on leaders of the various Chadian political factions to show restraint and patriotism by immersing themselves in the ongoing transition to democracy in their country. Now, this was when the country's transition president and head of government, General Mahamat Idris Deby Itno, who visited him on the sidelines of the ongoing UN conference on the least developed countries in Doha, Qatar. Here is Adamu's report.
The Chadian leader, General Muhammad Idris Deby Itno, is visiting President Muhammadu Buhari to formally congratulate him on the successful conduct of the presidential and National Assembly elections, which produced his party member as the next president. He is also here to once again show appreciation to the president for the support Nigeria continues to provide him and indeed his country as they undertake the ongoing transition to democracy.
He briefed Mr. President on the efforts that they were making to stabilize the situation in Chad. He said that there are about 50 military groups, political groups, and that out of the 50, 40 of them have now joined the peace process, transition process, that there were still 10, and that, he's still talking to them, and hopefully they will soon join the transition process. So he's quite happy with the developments and briefed Mr. President on that. And he also thanked, of course, Mr. President for all the support and the very important role that Nigeria has played in helping to achieve this level of stability in the country.
President Muhammadu Buhari said as close neighbor, he has been monitoring developments in Chad and sympathizes with the transition president over the inherited political and security challenges bedeviling the country.
To that extent, Mr. President also committed to, supporting as much as we can those challenges that are faced. But of course, Nigeria also, as a developing country, faces its own developmental challenges. But it's important, we feel, that we work together, being in the same sub-region. And also he talked about the multinational joint task force, and there's going to be joint operations this year with the Nigerian contingent, the Chadian contingent, and the Cameroonian contingent, so helping to reinforce the alliance in the fight against terrorism in our sub-region.
Their discussions also centered on the instability in Libya and how small arms and light weapons are proliferating and adversely impacting on the security situation in the entire Sahel region. From Doha, State of Qatar, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyama, has restated calls for Nigeria's inclusion into G20, including other AU member states. The minister made this known at the just concluded G20 Foreign Ministers meeting in New Delhi, India. Garba Natala has the details.
Addressing the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting, Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyama indicated Nigeria's interest of becoming a member of the G20 in the nearest future. Equally, the minister called for other reforms in the United Nations and its agencies to effectively confront global challenges. Tagged Our Earth, One Family, One Future, the meeting takes into cognizance the significance of protecting the environment. Meanwhile, Geoffrey Onyama had a bilateral meeting with the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, as well as the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken.
That was Garbana Tyler reporting on the G20. Now, Methodist Church Nigeria now has a new Archbishop of Abuja, and he is the Most Reverend Michael Akinwale. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who witnessed the enthronement, advised the new Archbishop to let his voice be heard and his leadership seen where there is injustice, deprivation, or lack. State House correspondent Jide Onifadi tells us more.
The Archdiocese of Abuja. Here before you is your Archbishop.
Prelate of the Methodist Church, Nigeria, Oliver Ali Abba, presenting the new Archbishop of Abuja, Most Reverend Michael Akinwale, to the congregation. The enthronement is to give effect to the resolutions of the 48th and 13th Biennial Conference of Methodist Church, Nigeria, that took place on the 14th of August 2022.
I shall perform all my duties as the Archbishop of Abuja in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution of Methodist Church, Nigeria.
The church found Reverend Akinwale to be worthy spiritually and in character, as well as in the knowledge of the Word of God.
As His Eminence, the Prelate of the Methodist Church, Nigeria, sat you on the throne, I knew that you were not blinded by the pomp and pageantry of this great occasion, but that you see this as a call to the service of God and man, and a responsibility of awful moment in our troubled country and our troubled world. Indeed, the office means that your voice must be heard and your leadership seen where there is injustice, where there is deprivation or lack.
Another member of the church, Sir Kayode Beckley, was also appointed and invested for the office of lay president of the Archdiocese of Abuja. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And Saturday, the 4th of March 2023, was a historic day for the family of the Emir of Dutse Emirate, and indeed the people of Jigawa State, as the cream of the society converged on the state capital to witness the coronation ceremony of the Emir of Dutse, Hamim Nuhu Muhammad Sanusi. Mohammed Musa Askira reports that the event attracted people from all walks of life, including Vice President-elect Senator Kashim Shettima.
The Aminu Kano Triangle, located in the heart of Dutse, the venue of the magnificent event, was full of guests from across the country. All northern emirs were present or represented at the occasion of the event, with the Sultan of Sokoto, the Shehu of Borno, and Emir of Kano among the topmost leaders of the traditional institutions. After performing the traditional rites and taking the oath of allegiance to the emirate, the new Emir Muhammad Hamim Sanusi was presented with the staff of office by Governor Muhammadu Badru Abubakar. In his maiden speech, Muhammad Hamim Nuhu Sanusi appealed to the ward, village and district heads, among other chieftaincy title holders in his jurisdiction, to steer clear of politics and instead work for peace, security, unity and prosperity of the emirate, the state and the country as a whole.
I call on you all to support me to build on what my father has done for the people of this emirate. I promise to be just and fair to all.
In their separate remarks, Governor Muhammadu Badru Abubakar and the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar III, admonished the new emir to follow the footprint of his father and move the emirate forward.
It is worthy of note that several policies of the state, including the state social protection policy and even the CTF as overarching state policy document, have recognized the potency of traditional institutions in fostering grassroots socio-economic development.
As traditional leaders, we must strive to better the living condition of our people.
And continue, hopefully, with what is obtained in the emirate.
This shows even how good, the good relationship the late emir had with so many people.
We ask Allah SWT to help him and guide him and let him lead everything. The utmost responsibility of the late emir to see that his people are placed first.
Among the dignitaries present were the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima, Plateau State Governor Bako Simon Lalong, former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido, and Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu, as well as the Director General NIDA, Kashifu Ino Abdullahi, among many others from within and outside the state. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
All right, let's take you to Lagos now, where Vitafoam Nigeria PLC has rewarded its shareholders with dividend payout of 1.9 billion, translating to 1.52 per ordinary share of 50 kobo each for the year ended September 2022. Now, this was unanimously agreed upon at the group's 61st annual general meeting in Lagos. Kehinde Adebisi has the details.
Gathered in this hall are board members, shareholders, and other stakeholders of Vitafoam Nigeria PLC, one of the leading manufacturers of flexible, reconstituted, and rigid foam products, with the largest foam manufacturing and distribution network in West Africa. They have gathered to evaluate the performance of the company in the year ended 2022. Despite the pitfalls of the year under review, Vitafoam Nigeria PLC, according to the Chairman Board of Directors, has maintained an impressive growth, with the company's turnover from 35.4 billion naira in 2021 financial year to 46.3 billion naira in 2022.
The result is still quite impressive enough to excite the shareholders. And as we mentioned during the proceeding, the subsidiaries that have been set up are now yielding multiple dividends for the parent company. And in spite of all the difficulties around, because of these subsidiaries, the fortune of the company is just getting better and better.
What has happened to date is that doing all of that has helped to manage our expenses, and that's why we're posting the reports we're posting. It's principally innovation all through what we do, whether it is in production, it doesn't matter, whether it is in management of the staff, it doesn't matter. What we do is that we are always innovating new ways of doing things.
Bottlenecks encountered by shareholders while claiming their shares topped the agenda. It was agreed that utmost caution should be applied in handling the situation.
We expect that Vitafoam will do more. Whatever.
Welcome back, and you're watching the news on Newsline. NNPC Limited says it has emplaced a robust plan for the supply of petrol, also known as premium motor spirit, from mid-February to March 2023. Latest updates released show that NNPC Limited has a total of 1.8 billion litres of petrol stock, representing 805.35 million litres. In all, the land depots nationwide and 1.2 million litres on marine vessels, which is equivalent to 30.09 days sufficiency. An additional supply of 884 million litres is also expected into the country from March 2023. A total of 2.3 billion litres of PMS is expected into the country, while about 2.5 billion litres, which is equivalent to 42 days sufficiency, will be the closing stock for the month under review. A statement by Garbadin Mohammed, Chief Corporate Communications Officer, assures motorists that it has adequate sufficient volume, and that the NNPC Limited, as the provider of energy security for the country, will continue to sustain availability of petroleum products across the country. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority assures Nigerians that operations in loading depots have fully resumed, following the restriction of movements during the recently concluded presidential and National Assembly elections, which necessitated truck drivers to travel to exercise their civic duty. Consequently, the authority is working with other stakeholders to mitigate the slight tightness being experienced in the distribution of petrol. A statement by the authority's chief executive urges the public to note that current stock sufficiency stands at about 40 days for PMS, 35 days for agro and for AGO, and 32 days for ATK. The authority strongly advises against panic buying. And the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, has issued a statement of encouragement and recommendation to Nigerians on the conduct of the February 25th elections, in which Bola Tinubu emerged winner of the presidential elections. In the statement, Leonard says the people of Nigeria demonstrated their dedication to democracy on February the 25th. But there are many aggrieved Nigerians, as well as many celebrating victories. She urges Nigerians not to let their differences divide them, but allow the legally established process resolve perceived grievances. The statement commends Mr. Obi and Mr. Abubakar for their recent statements committing to take this path, and Mr. Tinubu, who INEC declared president-elect under Nigeria's electoral framework, for acknowledging their right to do so. The United States is no stranger to election-related controversy and conflict, she says, as much as it can be unsatisfying to end an electoral process in the courtroom in a constitutional democracy bound by the rule of law, that is where electoral conflicts may appropriately conclude. The U.S. reiterates the call on INEC to address promptly the challenges that can be resolved ahead of the March 11 governorship elections, and that INEC should share with Nigerian public information about the action it is taking, especially as the February 25th election left many dissatisfied. The Interparty Advisory Council, IPAC, has charged the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to improve on its performance on the 25th February 2023 presidential election and address the shortcomings and complaints raised by political parties and their candidates in future elections. Now, this was part of resolutions reached after the Council's general meeting in Abuja. Correspondent Timothy Yusuf reports.
Election is the beauty of democracy and must be free, fair, credible, transparent, acceptable, inclusive and peaceful. IPAC is leveraging the saying to commend Nigerians for embracing peace after the presidential election and enjoined aggrieved political parties and their candidates to approach the court for redress.
We have increased our engagement with INEC, so that we will be able to get it right, and ensure that those innovations that INEC has brought to bear in terms of the processes and how election itself is going to be conducted before, during, after elections, so that people can now have more confidence in what INEC is doing.
The lapses noted in the February 25, 2023 presidential and National Assembly election should be lessons for the March 11 governorship and state assembly election for INEC.
Democracy is a very serious business. It's not something that we treat with levity.
The Center for Transparency Advocacy, in its third preliminary report of the presidential and National Assembly election, noted that the surge and enthusiasm shown by Nigerians in deciding who will lead them is worthy of commendation. Although some parties are aggrieved following the outcome of the exercise, the center appealed for restraints.
Violence of any mode should not be encouraged. We can only have one country that belongs to all of us.
The Election Observer Group urged INEC to up its game towards meeting the expectations of Nigerians in the March 11, 2023 governorship and state assembly election. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
The Northern Alliance Committee of the 19 northern states has hailed the outcome of the 2023 presidential election that produced the President-elect Ahmed Bola Tinubu and Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima. While congratulating winners of the presidential election, the committee says it is elated to see their preferred candidate emerge after rigorous campaigns and is confident Ahmed Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima will no doubt combine to halt the challenges facing the country.
The aim of the briefing is to publicly convey our congratulations to the President-elect Senator Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu on his victory in the just concluded presidential election, reflect on the conduct and outcome of the election, which produced the results of the election and subsequently declared Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of the election.
The majority of Northerners go with us, and they have given him the mandate.
And this victory means a lot to the Northerners, and we believe that his victory will contribute a lot to the development of the North and the country in general.
The group congratulates Nigerians for their resilience and INEC for the peaceful conduct, but advise that INEC takes into consideration suggestions made by stakeholders to improve the governorship election.
In the most equitable manner. The evidence of that is the acceptance of the people of the country.
The Northern Alliance is a pan-Northern group comprising notable politicians, diplomats, traditional rulers, and administrators. Now, youth in Katsina State have urged President-elect to form a government of national unity to strengthen common cause of building a new Nigeria. Now, they made a call while making observations on the concluded presidential National Assembly elections at a media briefing in Katsina. Anwal Haliru reports.
Association, in collaboration with some civil society organizations in Katsina State, said measures taken by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and the support of the federal government to the commission contributed in reducing election violence and malpractices. They described the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections as credible and urged patriotic citizens to put the country first.
We are confident in asserting that there is improvement in the conduct of the elections and democratic journey of Nigeria. A cursory look at the election result figures will convince any unbiased mind that this election, though not perfect, but is at least credible. A good point in mind is the way some presidential candidates lose or lost their states to other candidates from another state.
The group called on the President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu to assemble a committee of experts to manage the nation's economy and appeal to all Nigerians to cooperate in building a new Nigeria. In Katsina, Awan Haliru, NTA News.
And said in Katsina, the State Police Command neutralized 2 terrorists and repelled an attack on a community in Batsari local government area. Police Public Relations Officer of the command, SP Gambo Isa, said this while briefing newsmen. Again, Anwal Haliru has the report. All right, sorry about that. Now we'll move on to Gusau, where normalcy has returned to Maru town in Zamfara State after a terrorist attack on the community, which led to the death of the divisional police officer in charge of the area, SP Kazim Rahim, and the police inspector Rabiu Umar. In a statement issued by a spokesman of the Zamfara Police Command, SP Mohammed Shehu, the unfortunate incident happened early this morning when the terrorists in their numbers armed with sophisticated weapons attacked the division with intent to destabilize the security architecture of the town in order to abduct some members of the community. The statement says the victims paid a supreme price as they gallantly tried to repel the attack. And that ends the news on Newsline tonight from our end. Jennifer Igwe is on standby, and I hand over the cue to Jennifer.
Thank you, Claire. Welcome to Newsline proper. The commitment of many Nigerians, specifically vulnerable groups, to participate in the recently concluded presidential and National Assembly elections, despite significant economic challenges, is one of the indicators of a change in dynamics in the country. The citizens exercised their rights to vote candidates of their choice and, in turn, fast-track the nation's development. Solomon Aindin reports that the aged and people with disabilities were not left out of the election.
Nigerians go to the polls to choose their leaders every 4 years. There was much interest surrounding the presidential and National Assembly elections held nationwide on February 25th due to voter education of the electorate. They are confident that every vote will count with the introduction of beavers, as well as the need to move Nigeria to the next level of development with the ideals of democracy.
By the introduction of beavers, you can see the people quiet, ready to cast their vote, unlike the previous election.
Despite the challenges of cash crunch and fuel shortage, the majority of polling units in Kogi State saw impressive voter turnout. Women, the elderly and the sick, first-timers, people with disabilities and others showed up in large numbers to cast their ballots out of shared sense of patriotism.
I can see the enthusiasm across the country. Nigerians are getting more politically aware, informed, and they are ready to take an informed decision to choose a leader and ensure that Nigeria is on the path to greatness.
So my joy is that
there is a very large and orderly turnout. That is what we pray for.
The slogan is always a no woman, no election. So you can see they are more in number. Even when you check the ballot, the number of registered voters, there are more women than the men. So I'm not surprised. They are the ones driving the democracy in Nigeria.
Many of these people, particularly those who found it difficult to locate their polling units as a result of INEC's division exercise, traveled great distances to vote, disregarding the harsh weather conditions. Open ballot snatching and election disruption by political thugs, as well as vote buying using POS systems, was reported in some units. It's expected that the relevant authorities will learn from shortcomings and prepare better for future outings in order to keep Nigerians hopeful.
Still on the elections, the presidential and National Assembly elections have come and gone, and the winner declared. But some activities during the exercise left memories that would linger for a while, especially in the minds of those who didn't expect they would be specifically considered during the elections. Adebola Agbaje, who covered the elections in parts of Oyo town, met some of them and filed this report.
The 2023 Presidential and National Assembly elections were successful in Oyo East, West and Atiba local government area of Oyo, as members of the public went out early to perform their civic rights. During the period, NTA crew gathered that some members of the public went about their daily hustle and bustle, while some made brief business at some polling units. The crew also came across a man with disability who expressed joy at the opportunity to vote. Mama Sikiratu Fanito, age 79, and other elderlies were not left out.
The process was easy. I am happy to witness this day. So glad I am here.
While roaming the town, NTA News crew met some men who gathered to play cards. In an interaction with them, they said they were cooling off after casting their votes.
I have just cast my ballot for a candidate of my choice.
Similarly, the Oyo-Ogbomosho Express Road, known to be always busy, was free of vehicular movement or traffic, while security operatives were seen at their duty posts.
Still on elections, that being magnanimous in victory is a recipe many believe will go a long way in healing wounds and ultimately bringing about the reconciliation as the 2023 presidential elections is concluded. Timothy Yusuf leads us on a journey in which the feats can be achieved. So far, the efforts of President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and how he is magnanimous and humble in victory through his plans to run an all-inclusive government.
The 2023 presidential election came with lots of anxiety and intrigue. Not many believed that the exercise will come and go in the most peaceful way it went. The rest is history. Former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, eventually declared winner of the election. Some of his co-contestants challenged the outcome of the poll. Others, on the contrary.
Of course, our lawyers are studying the results, of the election, and we await for their advice.
Let me humbly and most respectfully appeal to all Nigerians to remain peaceful, law-abiding, and conduct themselves in most responsible manner. Please be assured that Dati and I, and indeed all of us, this is not the end, but the beginning of the journey for a birth of new Nigeria.
Despite the shortfall, as I have mentioned, beavers problem, transmission problem, we stand by the declaration pending the outcome of the court judgment.
To the disappointment of the naysayers, the president-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu hoped that running a government of inclusion will foster national unity and integration, irrespective of religious inclination, ethnocentric and cultural diversity, as well as political affiliation.
Have you been
servant and not be your leader. To work with you and make Nigeria a great country.
The president-elect will unite the country, will bring everybody on board. There will not be any part of this country that will be neglected.
Running an inclusive government will mean extending a hand of fellowship to other contestants in the just concluded presidential poll to move the nation forward on the path of progress and development.
Regardless of who wins, we must have a government of inclusion, all inclusivity that will introduce what we have been lacking, which is political stability in this country. To be winner takes all.
The import of the foregoing is that the president-elect sees himself as a president for all by being mindful of the fact that power comes from God and power is given for the benefit of mankind.
What most Nigerians want is a peaceful nation and for growth. Now, I'm sure most people can relate with the popular saying, nobody knows tomorrow. Well, planning for set goals and objectives is one thing, but sometimes the results can be surprisingly unbelievable. Talking about the realm of the unknown, certain developments and fallouts from the February 25th presidential and National Assembly elections definitely qualify as full-fledged surprises. Our next report, titled The Dark Horses of the 25th of February, aptly describes the stories of persons who defied the predictions of political pundits to define the next political dispensation. Mitaire Ikben tells us more.
Let's think of elections which are normally contestations in the context of a horse race. Only then will you appreciate the analogy of the dark horse. Don't take it literally, but figuratively. A dark horse lingers in the shadows, not expected to succeed in a contest, but springs a surprise to win unexpectedly. The first round of the 2023 general elections produced several dark horses who rode on the bandwagon effect of a third force to win elections for which they were written off as underdogs. Neda Imaswen is one of such dark horses. He was senior legislative aide to a serving senator and both contested the Edo South senatorial election on different platforms. Today, he's senator-elect, having defeated his former boss.
Politics is a game of intrigues, and if it does not produce an upset, then it's not politicking.
If people that lack financial muscles, ordinarily that we will write them off, are dislodging heavyweights, it's a good omen for democracy and it's good for the country.
In another instance, 47-year-old Donatus Matthew, father of 4 and graduate of philosophy, is now member-elect for Kaura Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives. He was popular as a commercial motorcycle operator who even used his bike to campaign for votes. He emerged as a dark horse who will now legislate in the 10th National Assembly.
2023 election is a watershed in the Nigerian political landscape, in the sense that today we have the obedience movement, the Kwankwasiya movement. They are not only in terms of being a movement per se, but now they are moving into the realm of participating actively, grabbing power.
In Lagos, very few persons knew the opponents of celebrity artist Olubankole Wellington, aka Banky W, for Etiosa Federal Constituency seat in the House of Representatives. Thaddeus Atta, the dark horse of the Labour Party, only became known when he floored Banky W of the PDP and Babajide Obanikoro of the APC at the polls.
That's why it's called People's Parliament. Is the parliament, is the assembly of people. And unlike in the past where this assembly was dominated by one ruling party or the other, now you have to negotiate, you have to navigate, you have to consult, you have to lobby other parties.
Another major upset happened in the nation's seat of power. No one imagined that Ireti Kingibe, who is not an original inhabitant of the FCT, will beat 3-time Senator Philip Aduda in his own political stronghold.
You can never reign forever. Not even a king reigns for life. There will always be time and season. And so their own time and season, for those who lose out, their time and season has stopped. And they can retry, in 2027.
In Enugu, 40-year-old Chimobi Sam Atu, known as a bus driver and member of a vigilante group, also pulled a major upset when he defeated long-standing politicians to win the Enugu North and South constituency election. The battlegrounds shift to the states for the governorship and state houses of assembly elections this Saturday. Will there be more dark horses? That is one question with possible answers in a matter of days.
I think Nigerians are becoming more politically conscious and people want to participate and want leadership that will represent them. Time for a break. Newsline continues shortly.
Sure.
Wondered what became of notable places in the Bible? Well, most of them are now sacred sites and locations of interest to Christians, pilgrims, and people from all across the world and different continents. Just back from a pilgrimage to Jordan and Israel, Adeni Itaiwo reports that the two nations are harnessing their history to tell compelling stories that can rekindle faith.
A blast in the face at the airport in Amman marked our first welcome to Jordan. Reality bites. Soon, a vista of the city appeared, its beauty muted by the morning fog. With the rising of the sun, the sprawling city of Amman, capital of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, and its 11 million population came alive, and the pilgrimage began. First, a visit to River Jabbok, where the biblical Jacob wrestled with an angel and prevailed. To see, touch, and pray at the river was such a delight for these pilgrims and myself.
When we were growing up, we used to listen to stories, Bible stories. But now, as our faith has increased, this is not a story, it is a reality, an affirmation of our faith.
Because River Jordan West. Up these steep and winding mountain trails, we went to seek out the city of Gadara, where Jesus delivered 2 men from evil spirits. Even as others prayed and I walked, none lost sight of the medieval grandeur of structures still standing in defiance of nature after over 2 millennia. Up there, we got a clearer view of Mount Tabor, where Jesus transfigured in the presence of 3 disciples. In quick succession, visits to Mount Macarius, where the Nigerian flag fluttered under the wind of prayers, and Mount Nebo, where Moses had the only glimpse of the promised land, followed.
This is Mount Tabor, Mount Tabor.
Our tour guide, Rami Kawar, is a Christian, interestingly a minority group of about 3% in Jordan. He told me his 2 expectations: 1, that Christian pilgrims read the Bible with better understanding now, and 2, his desire for improved religious coexistence in Nigeria.
There is no difference between Christian and Muslims, and Jordan government and the regime here in Jordan declare a Jordanian constitution that everyone can believe in the religion he wants to believe in, and they give you freedom to show that that way. So you feel here in Jordan free, and you can worship. We have churches everywhere, we have mosques everywhere, and there is no difference, and thank God we live in peace.
After 4 days, it was time to say goodbye to the most tranquil nation in the entire Middle East and its money-spinning olive trees as we prepared to depart for the second leg of the pilgrimage.
This is the beginning of Galilee.
The city of Galilee welcomed us to Israel with less cold, and in the serene countryside around the city, my camera lens captured irrigation farming at its best. Do you remember the Beatitudes? Well, blessed art thou if you did. The Mount of Beatitudes is not far from Capernaum, where Jesus preached and ministered to the sick. These deserted churches stand as monuments to that era. On a short boat ride on the Sea of Galilee, it was prayer marathon, followed by fun the Nigerian way, under the Nigerian flag.
Like it was in other holy sites visited, happy and exuberant pilgrims captured the moment in pictures. Indeed, several pictures.
This church in Tabha was originally built about 1,500 years ago. It stands as a monument to one of the miracles performed by Jesus Christ when he fed 5,000 with 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread. This is one site that Christians in Nigeria and other parts of the world are eager to visit.
While Jesus fed 5,000 people at Tabgha, NCPC continued the tradition of feeding by providing fish and bread to pilgrims at various points. A tour of the pool of Bethesda, Chapel of Condemnation in Via Dolorosa, and 14 stations that Jesus went through on the way to Golgotha to pay the ultimate price was really humbling. Elfrida and Sarah are from the northern part of Nigeria, but they were excited to read the Yoruba version of John 3:16 inscribed on the wall at River Jordan, where Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist. For them and other pilgrims who experienced baptism at the river, the experience can only be compared to visiting the birthplace of Christ in Bethlehem. There, they saw, touched, and experienced the aura of the Church of Nativity, which stands atop the manger where Christ was born. It was time to bid Israel farewell, just as it had been in Jordan. Our hills and mountains, ancient and brown, silent and unyielding, led us out of the city, looking surreal like paintings from strokes of master artists.
Thank you, Adeni. You just helped us to appreciate the pilgrimage as if we were there with you. And Jordan and Israel indeed have a rich tapestry of history. Very impressive. Now let's come back to Lagos. Lagos is a city of many attractions, drawn from its history, economy, and of course, its geography. Iconic structures such as the National Theatre, Randall Center for Yoruba Culture, Racecourse, among many other landmarks, add to the beauty of the state. In this report, Hingino John Adams takes us on a trip from the island to the mainland.
As one of the fastest growing cities in Africa, Lagos has a good claim to being a mega city with all the necessary indices. The state is broadly divided into Lagos Island and Lagos mainland.
You see beautiful structures, flowers, gardens, employment opportunity, and a host of others. It's even a center of business and traction.
Though the island is considered the highbrow settlement, both areas are characterized by world-class infrastructure with aesthetic appeal.
Some parts of Lagos really shows architecture, aesthetics, and you will love the designs. Talk of the Victoria Island, even when the buildings have been built some years ago, they still meet up to standard. The Lekki.
You may not be wrong if you call Lagos a city of bridges. From the third mainland bridge stretching 11.8 kilometers to Carter and Eco bridges, all connecting the two suburbs, flyovers and pedestrian bridges are also part of the unique road networks linking places and adding to the beauty of the former capital of Nigeria.
The view of the lagoon that you will have over 5-10 kilometers, is intriguing and is captivating. So that bridge, the third mainland bridge, is a beauty to behold, and we love it.
The city of aquatic splendor, Lagos has more than 40% of its total land area covered by water. Sitting shoulder to shoulder with the Atlantic Ocean, the state has coastal line measuring 180 kilometers, a sight to behold. Away from the island, the state also draws its energy and verve from the mainland. The National Theatre Igomu, now undergoing a rebirth, has an imposing stature. From the mainland To the island, across the lagoon, Lagos remains beautiful. With the coming of Lagos Blue Rail Line and Randall Center for Yoruba Culture, Lagos is riding on a nexus of nature, technology, and art to keep pace with the rest of the world.
When you call Lagos Eco for show, ain't for nothing, Lagos is indeed the center of excellence. Now, communal living promotes peace, love, and a healthy society. Lorita Arinze Egwim in this report sampled the opinion of Lagos residents on communal living in the past and today, including the importance of neighborhood cooperations as a strategy for reviving specifics of the African setting.
Typically, in Nigeria and Africa, it was common practice for people in a neighborhood to do most things together, like living under the same roof, eating together and sharing one another's joy, sorrow, and burdens. This tradition mirrored the saying, being your brother's keeper. It fostered tolerance and mutual trust as well. Now the question is, this type of lifestyle, is it still practiced? How much do people know about their neighbors, and how well do they relate with each other?
All I'm saying is that you know your neighbors so that when you have common issues, you can deal with it together.
My neighbors are my family. I relate very well with them.
We live in each other for years, and we've come to have, this kind of bonding.
Knowing and relating with one's neighbors, respondents say, can promote healthy relationships, happiness and longevity, as well as preservation of lives during crisis.
People need people to raise them up. So you can't just say that by your own you will do this and by your own you get a particular result. Like they say, two heads are better than one.
When you live alone and probably you have a cardiac arrest, probably you have heart problem, probably you need somebody to help you, and you're about the only person at home, then you are killing yourself gradually.
The invention of modern technology, where one can stay in a room and connect to the entire world, the location where one resides, nature of one's job, and fear factor are some of the reasons why many today prefer to live secluded lives without caring about their neighbors.
The person that cannot solve their problem, sharing my problem with him may not make any sense. Your neighbor is hungry. The only thing you call, you just say, God will do it. You begin to quote scripture. That man needs food, not scripture. There's no love and trust. I think love begets trust. And the two of them, they work hand in hand.
In a society like ours, where relying on the services of others for survival is inevitable, is it wise to act like people around us do not matter?
The call for us to think about our brother. So the season of Lent also calls you to what? To think about your brother and your sister who is in need of your help. And when you do that also, you are living a godly life.
Love one another. So this will let all of us will move together and succeed.
Respondents underline the importance of maintaining relationships with neighbors, as they are frequently the first to respond in times of difficulties and needs. They are also of the view that safety of lives and property start with knowing what one's neighbor does for a living.
Now, and I remember some years ago, NTA popular program, then Sesame Street. Welcome back. A clash between some unarmed youth and the police in Doraye area of Kano State has allegedly claimed the life of a 22-year-old Halifa Rabiu, while scores of others sustained injuries and are currently receiving treatment at different health facilities. Habibu Hussaini, who went allegedly ignited the incident.
And some identified youths were alleged to have fallen victims of the incident. Eyewitnesses say between 4 and 6 people were allegedly shot by the police in response to attack on them by some unarmed youths in the area.
The police came and started to discuss the youth, and the youth attacked the police with stones which provoked the police.
I heard that 2 people were shot. One died instantly and the other died after taken to the hospital.
A family member of the 22-year-old Halifa Rabiu, who was alleged to have been shot on his right ear, called on government to come to their aid and investigate the matter to ensure justice.
We are appealing to the government to investigate the matters, as we come to learn that it was the DPO leading the officers who was alleged to have fired the rifle.
The police public relations officer, Kano State Command, Haruna Aliyu Kiyawa, has been contacted on the matter, but as at the time of filing this report, he is yet to give any clarification on the incident.
We are on the case and we will surely keep you posted. It was a case of love gone sour with a tragic end when a police officer with the Kwara State Police Command, identified as Sergeant Michael Olalere, allegedly murdered a lady who was said to be his mistress and also took his own life. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya in this report unravels the mystery behind the tragic incident.
Reports where late Sergeant Michael Olalere shot late Cecilia Oluwatosin, who came to drop her son in school, after which he shot himself. Although the school in question shares premises with the church, school authorities say the police officer has been coming with Cecilia to drop her son in school, and as such, the security could not question his presence in the premises. Traumatized Samuel Ayeni, who is the head teacher of Redemption Model Nursery and Primary School, reveals that Cecilia Oluwatosin has a 2-year-old son in the school whom she usually drops off during weekdays. Unknown to Cecilia, this fateful day was going to be her last.
I heard a sound. I was trying to fill the generator at the back. That was before our assembly. And I heard a sound, so I was trying to find out where the sound was coming from, before the driver ran this way and said somebody had been killed, So I now came, I saw the corpse down here. I observed that one of them was one of our parents that came to drop a child.
Kwara State Police Command swung into action on getting a tip-off to the scene to recover and deposit the bodies at the University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital mortuary.
What we were able to piece together for now is that the sergeant, who is by name Michael Olalere, attached to 15 p.m. rifle and waited until the arrival of the lady who we were made to understand were lovers. And according to the information we were able to piece together, the love, as she had gone, so led to misunderstanding. We're told that even about 3 or 4 days before then, the police sergeant went to the home of the girl and retrieved all he bought for the girl until what he did yesterday.
Police investigations reveal that 40-year-old Michael Olalere, a police sergeant married with 2 kids, has been in a relationship with Cecilia Oluwatosin, who works as a cleaner at the Kwara State Banquet Hall, whose husband allegedly left for Dublin about a year ago.
It's somebody I know personally, and it's somebody I saw about a week. He is so respectful, so dutiful. He doesn't play with his job. And it was very, very surprising that he can take the action he took to not only kill somebody, but go as far as exterminating his own life.
Just be careful how we react there's a thin line between life and death. The life of a 16-year-old late woman, Hawa Mohammed, not even the woman, a girl, the life of a 16-year-old girl, Hawa Mohammed, from Sawa, Arugungu local government area of Kebbi State, will never be the same again, as her spouse, now at large, did not only abuse her, but chopped off one of her arms and a leg. The victim and her parents spoke to NTA Hassana Abubakar Koko. They are calling for support to get justice.
Federal Medical Center, Birnin Kebbi, where the victim, Hawa Mohammed, is currently receiving treatment. It all began on Tuesday, the 7th of February 2023, when Hawa Mohammed went to visit her parents and her sister decided to walk her home. While on the way back home, she met her husband, Malam Bello, who suddenly brought out a cutlass and chopped off one of her hands and legs. The father of the victim, Alhaji Muhammad Namata, explains that they were much made into marriage 3 years ago, but since then they have never known peace.
He is inhuman. He deserved to face the law after committing the crime. He called her uncle that he has killed their daughter. They should go and pick her up.
The state coordinator, Ward C of a non-governmental organization on ending sexual and gender-based violence, Catherine Obeda, disclosed that the body is working to seek justice for Hawa Mohammed in order to serve as deterrents to others.
We are trying to see how we support her medically and with the bills and whatever she may need for now, up until when the police get hold of the husband.
I'm already taking over the investigation of the case, and efforts are ongoing to train the suspect and investigating subsequently prosecuting based on the offense he committed. Our advice to the members of the public is to not to take matters into their hands. Even if they are offended or they feel aggrieved, we have many security agencies where you can take where they can go and make their complaint to seek for redress. They should not take law into their hands.
This is very cruel, and I hope they catch him because he needs to answer to the law. And I hope they find a way to help the lady, the young girl, to rehabilitate her and help her forward. There is a twist to the death of 12-year-old Whitney Adeniro, who was said to have collapsed during a school sporting event and died, as the autopsy report now shows that she died of electrocution and asphyxiation, contrary to earlier assumption. Amakowo has details.
The actual cause of the death of 12-year-old Whitney Adeniran, a student of Chrisland College who died on the 9th of February 2023 during the school's inter-house sports at Agege Stadium, Lagos, has been confirmed in an autopsy report.
Now that it has been established that she died of electrocution, then it means somebody somewhere was actually negligent and somebody somewhere was actually culpable, either one person or a number of persons. So for that, we are going to bring back everybody that was at that scene who have previously been invited to make statements. They need to come back and they will be interrogated in light of the new facts, and those that are really truly culpable would be arraigned immediately.
During a telephone conversation, Michael Adeniran, father of the deceased, who was buried on the 2nd of March, claimed that the school is yet to admit acts of negligence.
Hello?
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, madam.
Okay, am I on to Mr. Adeniran?
Yes. The school are yet to also accept the fact that they are wrong and they are at fault. Rather, they have keep on scheming different ways in which they can let themselves out of the hook. So they are trying to demand for second autopsy, but in which the Lagos State Ministry of Justice have told them that will never happen.
Attempts to get authorities of the college to react to the issue proved abortive as we met stiff resistance at the entrance. However, the secondary school section of the Okpebi branch is still shut down as directed by the Lagos State government. Lawyers provide legal perspectives to the matter.
The school holds the right to protect Whitney while she was within their confines, while she was within the school. Now, if it is found out that that protection has not been adhered to, then the consequences and the liabilities will have to fall on the school.
Experts, on the other hand, recommend that standard safety measures be put in place always during public events.
Classroom level, they must provide first aid box at every classroom, not only those who are in academia, but every Nigeria must have that knowledge and to be able to give it.
Safety education should be part of the school curriculum from primary to tertiary levels in order to inculcate safety consciousness into people.
Newsline sought the views of other Nigerians.
The children are their responsibility. Immediately parents left them in school, they left them in the hand of the teachers there. So they should take care of the students very well.
I'm a parent. How can I feel? Let me put myself into that woman's shoe. Let me put myself into that woman's shoe. How can parent? It's unfair. It's not okay at all.
Lagosians are urging relevant authorities to ensure adequate monitoring and supervision of safety standards and activities of schools in the state, particularly the private ones, to prevent the reoccurrence of such fatal incidents.
Asphyxiation and electrocution, how the story just ended that way, it shows that safety is very key when we're organizing events, and schools should note this. Very important. Time to take our last break. Thanks for staying on the line. Music, they say, is food for the soul and soothing to the heart when sounds produced from the art are done with the right rhythm and rhymes. Interestingly, some believe the physique of a person can influence the quality of sound they produce. Interesting. Curious about this, Lynn Lineke sought the views of music enthusiasts and experts on the assumption that large-sized people can sing better than those that are smaller.
It's not wrong to say that almost everyone can sing, whether good or bad. The ability to deliver musical notes and lyrics in an engaging and impactful manner makes the difference.
If you work on your tone, if you work on your breathing, if you work on your basically you work on your vocals constantly, you work on yourself, your singing is going to be top notch.
Inspiration, passion, lyrics, and musical instruments can give so much energy to a song, including the voice quality and vocal power of the singer. There are those who have even argued that large-sized people sing better than those who are smaller.
It's not about the size of the person. It has to do with the training the person had gone through, the training the person had acquired over the years, and then also how the person had been engaging him or herself in performance.
Like, my voice has remained the same through the years, being what you call lectitious and of being aerobiristic. So I wouldn't know. I still sing the same way.
Experts, however, say the ability to produce good vocal sounds through the expression of music is not limited to the size of the body, but acquisition of skills and training.
To articulate whatever you are singing very well, diction, and of course also intonation, ability to sing in the right pitch.
Wait for this. Your guess is as good as mine.
I said,
Different strokes for different folks, you may say.
Well, I'll just say whether you are slim, average, or plus size, if you train very well, you can sing excellently. Okay, I know I can't sing, but at least I try. So it's not about size, but effort and passion. So this is where we'll end.